Just a reminder there of what happened at AFCON on Tuesday. A couple of games in Group C. It was a 1-1 draw between Tanzania and Tunisia. A good win again for Nigeria. 3 wins from 3 for them to begin the tournament, winning Group C. So 3-1 win over Uganda. Senegal beat Benin 3-0 in Group D. And then DR Congo won by the same scoreline against Botswana in the same group as well. Let's cross live to Morocco and chat to Mimi Fawaz, who's covering the tournament for us. Mimi, great to see you as always. What did you make of Senegal's performance? They're looking pretty good so far, aren't they?
Yeah, Senegal looking good, as I'm sure you've spoken about already many times. They're one of the favorites coming into this competition, and they've been very consistent. We saw again Sadio Mane with leadership qualities over there, providing an assist for the second goal. They needed that because obviously they were trying to finish top of the group. It was between them and DR Congo, who were leading at the time. But look, they're very compact. It's a shame what happened with Kalidou Koulibaly in the back. You know, the defense, they do need him, especially now in the crucial place in the knockout stages. But unfortunately, he did that tackle, the Achilles heels of Tosin of Benin, which I don't think was intentional. So now they're going to have to be looking at people like Sadio Mane and Idrissa Gana Gueye, really taking them forward to lead them now after what happened with the red card for Koulibaly.
Mimi, I'm so interested in the closures of these groups, and now we're starting to see the round of 16 start to come together, and DR Congo versus Algeria is one that immediately perked up my attention. Just tell me in terms of how you're feeling about that, how that should go, and also the form of DR Congo as well.
Maybe if you remember, it was actually you that I spoke to, and I said that DR Congo were one of my dark horses in the competition. Just looking at Sébastien Desabre, their manager, what he's been doing with the squad for the past 3 years or so, they're very much a balanced team at the moment. At the last AFCON, they finished 4th, losing out in the bronze to South Africa. They were very defensive, but weren't very exciting going forward, you know, not very fluid, not very attacking. Now we're seeing that from DR Congo. So they look a very much balanced team in all areas, you know, on the field, as well as Algeria. Algeria themselves are looking very consistent. They're also a very well-balanced team. Not many people have put Algeria as one of the favorites coming into the competition, but since 2019, when they last won the Africa Cup of Nations, they didn't manage to come out of the group stages consecutively back to back. Now they've done it, and they're doing it under the radar. Not one of the teams that people were looking at to start the competition, but now people are looking at, oh, this team actually are looking very good, very solid moving forward in the competition. So it's going to be quite a tough match, I think.
It is going to be a tough game. It'll be entertaining to watch. Before we move on to talk about Nigeria, let's just discuss Benin, because they're one of the surprise packages. No one really thought that they would get through to this stage. They've obviously got Egypt in the knockouts, which is going to be a very difficult one given all the quality in that Egypt side. But have Benin surprised people with just how well they've played so far?
Not too much. I don't think so. I think anybody that's been following African football very closely would say that Benin in the past, okay, sometimes have gone further on in the competition, but they've also got Gernot Rohr. Gernot Rohr is very experienced African coach. He was as well the former Nigeria coach. So since he's come in, he's tried to provide a bit of, you know, that defensive solidity with the team. They're not maybe creating as many goals, but we could possibly see that as the competition goes along. So Gernot Rohr has been doing a good job with this team. This is a team that were battling, and look, at some point they could be finishing at the top of the group for the Africa World Cup playoffs until Nigeria unfortunately spoiled the party for them. So they're definitely a team that maybe might not be so flashy out there, but they're a team that can quietly go about getting those results.
Mimi, let's tuck into it. Let's talk about Nigeria, because they're always at the top of everybody's thought process because of the history of the nation and what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, they've been through so much as a federation over the last 12 months, but 3 wins out of 3 isn't too bad. Where do you think they see themselves right now?
Now, Nigeria, another team that I said before the start of the competition that they're not one of the clear favorites. But I did say when they're not put as one of the clear favorites, it actually works in Nigeria's benefit because they can coast along quietly and get the results, and there's not so much pressure on them. I think that Eric Sekushel is doing a good job. The last AFCON, Nigeria were very defensive. Everybody spoke about that defensive strength, but Eric Sekushel is a coach that's very attacking minded. So we can see those set plays that he, you know, in this match against Uganda, that he's been working with the team that they've built on from that first match against Tanzania. We saw as well there Victor Osimhen, who captained the side. And Eric Sekushel put 8 new different starters from their last game against Tunisia. So it's really good to see they've got that talent that can bring up those goals, like Rafael Onyedika getting those 2 goals. Samuel Chukwueze as well, providing the 2 assists for him, the Fulham player. So I'm really glad that he was able to test some of the other players in their final group game. But if Nigeria can keep on playing the way that they're playing and the attacking flair, they could surprise a lot of people, I think, JD.
Mimi, in these performances so far from Nigeria, we talked about, and you mentioned quite rightly that they weren't in the best of form maybe coming into the tournament, given their performances in World Cup qualifying. What have they turned around in these 3 games so far? What are they getting right?
I think, as I said, they've worked a lot on their set plays, being more attacking minded. And I think as well, Eric Sekushel is working with them on the concentration. We saw that lapse in the Tunisia game. You're leading 3-0, and in the last 15 minutes, they're coming back with 2 goals. So I think he's working on that. He's building on the team to be, calm down a bit, when they're ahead, just use their mind a bit, concentrate so that they're not leaking in those goals. They're already now doing very well in terms of attacking, and I said passing, getting those crosses, finding the players to put those passes through. So I think they're getting things right in terms of moving forward, but it's just trying to work on that lapse in concentration in the last 15, 20 minutes of games that I think Sekushel will be working a lot more with Nigeria on.
Mimi, we were saying at the top of the show, it's our final appearance of 2025, your final appearance as well. We're looking forward to working again with you in 2026 as AFCON continues. But thanks so much for your contribution this year.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, JD. I'm glad to be the final show of the year with you guys. More good luck for us in the new year.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, or Bonne Année, as they would say.
Bonne Année, exactly.
In Morocco.
Yes, thank you very much.
What's you cultured, my brother? I like it.
There we go. Surprise someone every day. It has been an enjoyable tournament so far. I always love watching AFCON and seeing some of these players who we're obviously used to seeing in the European leagues, in the Premier League, in Liga and in Serie and La Liga, then performing against some of the other teams in AFCON. It's always entertaining to watch. Have you seen a team so far sort of emerge as your favourites? Who are you picking to win it?
I always think home cooked food is just a little bit different. The flavour that Morocco has, even at this stage, is it still has to be considered, plus the form that they're going into. And I put a lot of pressure and expectations on them because not only have I tipped them to do well in the World Cup, I've also tipped them to do well, especially in their home nations, African nations. But I've been so impressed by Nigeria. I think a lot of what Mimi just alluded to, their organisation, their structure, it's been an adverse to what we saw.
Well, it looked like a different team, don't they?
They are a different team, and that's the whole point. I mean, if we really dive into what the federation has been up to, they've moved away from that structure that they had at the beginning of those qualifiers, where they were only focused on players that played in the Nigerian domestic league. They were ignoring the quality that had gone to Europe and really established Nigeria as the force that it can be in world football. Bringing back in those players, it wasn't enough time with the World Cup qualifiers to resurge in terms of that qualification campaign. But what they have now, they use the momentum in terms of the latter part of that qualifiers, and now bringing it to this tournament, and you can really see a lot of those cogs turning, a lot of those relationships that should be there. And I love the fact that they were able to rotate their squad. There was a lot of quality that came into this game today that haven't had an opportunity to showcase what they've done in AFCON so far, and really showcase that they put pressure on those starters. And that's what you want. As a head coach, when you're going into a tournament, you want the players in that one game that's now a bye game to be applying pressure to those players that I can rely on as my starters, because then all of a sudden I have 18, 19 players that are hungry, that can change a game at any point, and more importantly, win a tournament. You're now only a few games away from creating history, and Nigeria have incredible amount of form and confidence going into that.
Another team we saw in action today, and always hard to write off someone who's got Sadio Mane and so much other quality in their lineup. How do you think Senegal are going to do once we get into the knockouts?
I mean, you spoke about arguably the best player in this tournament, Sadio Mane, and with a point to prove as well, because there isn't a lot of stars. And sometimes when you're the focus in terms of with your team, you can build a good structure around that one star. And I think what you've seen is a lot of players that are fluctuating and balancing off of the fact that Sadio Mane is going to have a lot of gravity towards him. And so it creates opportunities for other players. So I like the fact when I look through this score sheet today, I see so many different players impacting the game in different ways. Of course, we spoke about the Koulibaly incident, and that's going to be a massive factor in terms of in the latter part. But we can live on what Senegal have done so far and say that their establishment and also, of course, their confidence going into the latter stages are as good as anybody across this competition.